So today's video, I want to take a deeper dive in what's the difference between a personal brand and a business brand, and then how branding and having a brand is different than marketing to advertising and to sales. Because as you guys know, I just got back from attending a marketing conference and it was filled with a bunch of entrepreneurs in the room. Some were mortgage professionals and others were real estate agents or other types of entrepreneurs. And these words, although they're like cousins to each other, I feel like they're used in ways that if we don't stop and clarify what our real intentions and expectations are, then sometimes it can lead to misunderstanding or even disappointment. So, first off, everybody has a personal brand. It doesn't matter if you're 10, 5, 12, 55, 60. Your brand is basically your reputation. However, I like to define it as it's the result of all of your actions, your beliefs, your word choices, the things you post, the things you don't post, the things you wear, the brands you support. Like I've seen a lot of people who have been posting about Trump and maybe wearing a Dallas Cowboys jersey. These are all signals that people are going to perceive, and I can't control how people perceive what I do or when they perceive them, not only in my lifetime, but in their lifetime. So although we can control our actions and what we say, what we can't control is what people choose to see and how they hear things. So at the end of the day, a brand is the perception in the minds and hearts of others. Branding is the act of influencing. We're trying to pair some kind of word choice or action or support of maybe a team or whatever. And we're trying to pair it with something positive so that people have a positive perception or experience or view of us. It's not always the case. If I were to wear a Dallas Cowboys jersey to Philadelphia, that probably would not be a way to create positive impressions for myself in Philadelphia if I cared to influence those. So everyone has a personal brand. Not one person may see you the exact same as somebody else, because again, it's subjective and unique to that person. So if you ask my kids if they had to describe their mom versus a coworker of mine versus my coach or mentor versus my sister, a personal brand is you, your story. Your business brand is your business story. So all things remain true, as a brand is the perception of the business, the mission, the values, again, the things that it's associated with. That is brand broken down from business and personal. Whether we like it or not, we all have a personal brand. It's just some of us choose to be louder and prouder about it, and then some of us aren't, and we're like the secret agent or invisible LO. So I have found when expressing your truth, as you guys know, our core values here are to seek truth in all things and fill minds with truth. It's not the truth that we always say, but it's our truth. So when you're talking about a personal brand, I have found that when you can stick with labeling things as your truth, which gives permission to be wrong, and not trying to jam down people's throats that it is the truth, because there are very few absolute truths. Like an absolute truth would be a square could never be round. That's an absolute truth, no matter where you go, on earth, off earth, proven to be true over and over. So that is branding and brand. Now, marketing, sometimes marketing can come at the cost of your brand, which is a long-term, like brand awareness and things that we're doing on social media, which is to build trust. It's to fill that void or that story that people could create about us in their own heads. If they go to search for our name and nothing appears, they could think these stories of, oh, maybe he got out of the business, or maybe she's not doing this anymore. So part of it is to close the narrative gap of what people could assume by giving them something to latch onto. But it's a long-term play when you're creating a brand and brand awareness. So marketing is usually more transactional. It's quicker. We're usually trying to create attention or to create curiosity, which can sometimes come at the cost or the expense of your brand. Think about those annoying text messages where even though you signed up and gave permission to fill out that form, a brand that you may have trusted then puts you on some auto campaign and they slide dial you or they text bomb you. And now all of a sudden, when you see that name, you don't have the best taste in your mouth. Marketing is transactional. It's usually trying to get a sale. It's lots of call to actions. You're trying to drive results. So depending on social media goals, if you're wanting more results, as in like lead forms or leads, you usually have to pay to play. Because let's face it, social media is meant to build connections, build community, and they are feeding the addictions where they're trying to get more people to spend time on the platforms. That way they can charge businesses ads, no different than how TV was once created. In fact, just got done reading this phenomenal book by Gary Vee, Day Trading Attention. It's really good. So that is branding, marketing. Positioning is just what it's the logical strategy or framing of how, like, what we want to do to the consumer's mind when they think of us. So it's very intentional. This is where word choice and brand voice and tonality and colors and logos, like a lot of these things can help then influence our perception in the consumer's mind. So I want to make sure that those things are clear, knowing their core differences, and then knowing and understanding when to have a personal brand versus a business brand. And guys, like there's a lot of people who use social as an extension of their CRM, and it's just for social proof. There's no way to quantify the ROI, just like there's no way to quantify the cost of not having a brand. And Gary Vee last week actually said that he's actually very concerned for those who aren't massively creating like 10 to 12 pieces of content a day. And when I say 10 to 12, if we're making a post and it goes to TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Reels, Facebook Reels, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google, like that counts as 7, those different platforms. He has stated, and so did Alex Hermosi, because they were both at this event, that it is a volume game. Like it is looking at the top 10% of your content and then do more of what works. For most of you, depending on how many social accounts you have, posting once a day may not be enough. And it's making sure that you're doubling down on the content that works for you. There's some of you who do much better with the written text or the audio or the video, but it is still a skills game where there's an art and a science to how you present and how you perform with the material. But make no mistake that even Alex Hermosi and Gary Vee have said the only ones that will survive this whole AI era will be the ones with a strong personal brand. And I believe your personal brand will only grow as deep and wide as your personal character. In fact, if it ever grows wider than your character, then typically it implodes because you can only fake it for so long, which is why I'm so passionate about the accountability that it puts on people when you are committed to creating content, because that means you have to study your game to have something valuable to share. And through that journey, you actually become the best version of who you're meant to be, not anybody else. Not comparing yourself to anyone, no perfectionism, comparisonitis, you doing the work consistently every day to be vulnerable enough and brave enough and to have the courage to show up and to have content every single day, even if you have help, which it's okay to receive help, especially if you're trying to create 10 to 12 pieces of content a day, you're going to need help, but you have a truth that is meant to be shared. And there's things that you can learn, and there's more to you than just what you do. And there's a legacy that you're going to leave behind. And maybe your great, 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 great grandchildren or people that wonder. And I've had people that have passed away too early in my life. And I love being able to go back on social to be able to learn from them and to see memories. And it's like their voice and their legacy will always be carried on because they chose to vlog or document the journey, not for anyone else, but for them. And I think it's okay to admit it is selfish to an extent. Like it's the journey of doing this that then leads you to the self-actualization of who you are and who you're meant to be and who you can serve through the things specific to you because of what you've overcome or what you've survived or what tragedy you've triumphed. Like people learn from your failures. In fact, I think more people should share some of the things like their ups and downs, because it's the failures that then connect us as humans. Even when people introduce me on stages, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to hear about the highlights. It's actually all the wrong turns, which there were quite a few, my friends, but all those wrong turns, they taught me the most valuable lessons. And I'm so grateful for them more so than the wins. The losses just become more memorable. After last week and after hearing a lot of the questions that were coming from the audience, I thought, I don't want my group to ever misuse the terminology. So now we clearly understand what a brand is, which is just the result of your reputation and how reputations are formed. So we have millions of brands, basically. We understand now the difference between a personal brand and a business brand. You should understand the difference between positioning. Positioning is just what you do in the minds of others about a product or service. You now know the difference between branding and marketing. And I think if any of you are like wondering, how do I articulate my brand? Like maybe you need to do a one-on-one session with me and we can go through a brand identity course that I have to really discover like why you, like what is your uniqueness? I think you guys all know I struggled with this for a really long time with having an identical twin and both being in mortgage for a long time and wondering why would anyone choose me? And I think we all struggle with that. Am I good enough? Like, why me when you could have this person who is like a local celebrity? And through lots of therapy and personal development coaching and courses, and if I can figure it out, like what my X factor is with sharing DNA with someone, I'm 100% confident I can help you as well. So if you need help redefining who you are and what's your identity, then let's set up a strategy call and I'd be happy to help. Okay. Y'all take care. Have a great weekend.